The Forest Whisper. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills and a dense, whispering forest, there lived a girl named Meera. She was unlike the other children, quiet, observant, with an uncanny ability to understand animals. Orphaned at a young age, Meera lived with her old grandmother on the edge of the village, nearest to the forest that everyone else feared. The villagers often warned their children, "Don't go near the trees after sunset. That's where the cursed spirits roam, the snake demons who wait in silence." But Meera never believed those stories. She felt peace under the trees, a kind of calm that didn't exist within the village where people whispered about her oddness. Each morning, Meera would walk alone into the forest, collecting herbs for her grandmother. The birds would sing in delight when she approached, and squirrels often followed her with playful curiosity. She'd hum softly, a melody her mother once sang, though the lyrics had long been forgotten. One day, while exploring deeper than usual, Meera heard something unusual, faint, pained hissing. It came from behind a tangle of thorn bushes near a moss-covered stone. Carefully parting the branches, she gasped. There, coiled tightly and bleeding from several cuts, was a large snake. Its scales were an iridescent black, with streaks of deep emerald shimmering like water in moonlight. It was caught, its long body wrapped around thorns that dug cruelly into its flesh. Most villagers would have screamed or run. Meera did neither. She crouched low and whispered, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you." The snake's golden eyes met hers. There was intelligence in them, something deeper than mere animal instinct. Still, she knew it was hurt, not evil. Gently, she reached into her satchel and pulled out a small clay jar of healing paste. First, she cut away the thorns with her knife, careful not to cause more harm. The snake didn't flinch. When it was free, it slumped to the ground, exhausted. "Why are you here all alone?" she asked, more to herself than to the creature. Then, something impossible happened. "You are different," the snake hissed, but not in an ordinary way. It spoke. The voice echoed in her mind, soft and ancient. Meera stumbled backward, her breath caught in her throat. "You can talk," she whispered. "I can speak only to those with open hearts," the snake replied, its voice fading like wind through leaves. "And yours is unlike any I've met in centuries." Meera, though frightened, didn't run. Somehow, she knew it wasn't a trick. There was sorrow in the creature's voice, loneliness she recognized in herself. "What are you?" she asked. "I am Naagaraj, a prince of the old blood, once guardian of these lands before I was cursed. Now I rot in this form, bound by betrayal and time." Meera's heart ached. "Who cursed you?" "That is a tale for another day," Naagaraj said. "But know this, I felt your presence long before you arrived. Your kindness called to me." The wind stirred through the trees, almost as if the forest itself listened. "I will help you heal," Meera said firmly, wrapping a cloth around his wounded midsection. "You shouldn't be alone." Nagaraj's eyes shimmered. "You are brave, child, but be warned, your village fears me. If they learn of what you've done, they may turn on you." "They already think I'm strange," she said with a small smile. "Might as well be strange for the right reasons." The snake gave a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Perhaps fate has not forgotten me after all." As twilight fell and shadows lengthened, Meera helped Naagaraj into a hollow beneath an ancient tree, hidden from wandering eyes. She promised to return the next day with food and more medicine. As she walked back home, fireflies danced around her, and the trees whispered gently in the wind, as if approving her choice. She didn't yet understand the importance of what she'd done. But deep within the forest, something had begun to stir. An old magic, waking from slumber. The serpent's secret. For the next several days, Meera returned to the forest with bandages, herbs, and soft bread rolls wrapped in cloth. Naagaraj, once fierce and wounded, slowly regained his strength under her gentle care. The more time they spent together, the more Meera realized he wasn't just a creature of myth. He was wise, sorrowful, and human in a way few villagers were. They spoke for hours beneath the ancient tree. Naagaraj told her about the forest's forgotten history, of creatures that once lived in harmony with humans. He spoke of how greed, fear, and betrayal had shattered that balance. One morning, while the sun filtered through golden leaves, Meera asked the question that had been on her mind. Naagaraj, you said you were a prince. What happened to you? The serpent was still for a long moment, his golden eyes fixed on the dancing light. I was once the heir to the Naga kingdom, he said slowly, a realm deep beneath this very forest, older than your village by thousands of years. We lived in peace with humans, protectors of the balance between nature and man. But peace breeds envy. Who betrayed you? Meera asked softly. A man I trusted, a human king. I saved his kingdom from drought with the waters of the deep lake. In return, he sought my power for himself. He tricked me with a sacred vow, then shattered it. My spirit was bound to this form, neither dead nor truly alive. My people scattered. The forest dimmed. Meera felt anger rise in her chest. That's terrible. Naagaraj looked at her with something like hope. You're the first human to show me kindness in centuries. I believe perhaps the curse can be broken. Meera blinked. Ow! There is a ritual, he said, an ancient rite of trust. It must be performed at the Lake of Echoes, the same sacred place where I was betrayed. If a human of pure heart willingly performs the vow, I may be freed. Then let's do it, Meera said without hesitation. Naagaraj shook his head. It is not so simple. The rite reveals the soul. If even a sliver of doubt, fear, or selfishness exists in you, the magic will turn against us both. And the villagers, they will not let you go easily. Meera knew he was right. Rumors had already begun to spread. She had caught the sideways glances and hushed voices as she walked through the market. Some claimed she spoke to shadows. Others said she had become a witch. Even her grandmother had grown quiet, eyes filled with worry. That night, as she prepared her pack for the journey to the lake, a sharp knock echoed on the door. It was Elder Barav, a tall, stern man with a silver beard and a voice like thunder. Girl, he said, eyeing her bundle, where do you go so early in the season? Meera kept her voice calm. To gather herbs. My grandmother is ill. His eyes narrowed. Strange herbs, found in strange places for strange girls. He leaned in. We know what you're hiding. Forest spirits are not to be trifled with. End this now, before you bring ruin to us all. Meera said nothing, merely nodded. After he left, her grandmother pulled her aside, trembling. Child, they're planning to follow you. They think you're cursed. Meera swallowed hard. I have to go, Nanny. Someone needs me. Her grandmother looked into her eyes for a long moment, then nodded. Then go, and may the old spirits walk with you. Before dawn, Meera slipped into the woods. Naagaraj was waiting, coiled beneath their tree. His eyes widened as he saw her pack. You're certain? I am, Meera said. Let's go. They moved through the forest, deeper than Meera had ever gone. The trees grew older, their trunks wider, their roots like twisted veins beneath the earth. Strange lights flickered between the branches. Watchful spirits, Naagaraj whispered. The path narrowed until they reached a clearing, and there, nestled between ancient stones, lay the Lake of Echoes. The water was still as glass, reflecting the sky perfectly. A stone platform jutted out from the center, etched with glowing runes. Naagaraj bowed his head. Once we begin, there is no turning back. I'm ready. As Meera stepped onto the platform, the sky darkened. The lake shimmered, casting ripples of silver and gold. A voice, not Naagaraj's, whispered in the air. Speak your vow, child of man. Meera placed her hand on her heart. I vow to stand beside the forgotten. I vow to judge not by fear, but by truth. I vow to protect what others cast aside. The lake responded, pulsing with light. Naagaraj slithered onto the platform, his form glowing. And just as the transformation began, a sound shattered the moment. Shouts, torches, footsteps. The villagers had come. Naagaraj's eyes locked onto hers, filled with panic and pain. Don't stop, he said. No matter what happens, don't break the vow. And from the forest edge, Elder Barav raised a long, sharp spear. The trial of trust. Meera's heart thundered as the villagers burst through the tree line, torches blazing and fear etched into every face. Elder Bhairav stood at their head, his spear poised, eyes locked on Naagaraj with a mix of hatred and triumph. "There it is," he shouted. "The cursed beast. Step away, girl." Naagaraj, still glowing faintly from the ritual's energy, coiled protectively in front of Meera. "Do not interfere. This is not your battle." But Bhairav advanced. "It is our battle. That thing has poisoned her mind, dark magic and deception." "Please," Meera cried out. "He's not what you think. He was betrayed by one of your ancestors." The crowd hesitated, murmuring uncertainly, but Bhairav barked, "Lies! The Nagas were demons, and now their spawn returns to finish what they started." Without warning, he hurled the spear. Time slowed. Meera moved instinctively, stepping between the spear and Naagaraj. A flash of heat tore through her shoulder as the weapon grazed her and plunged into the stone beside her. She stumbled, blood darkening her tunic. "No!" Naagaraj roared, a pulse of golden light erupting from his body. The villagers fell back, shielding their eyes as the energy surged outward, forming a protective barrier around the platform. Meera fell to her knees, clutching her shoulder. "You're hurt," Naagaraj said, voice trembling. "I'm okay," she whispered, trying to stay upright. "Finish the ritual." The lake shimmered again. The voice of the ancient spirit echoed. "The vow stands, but the soul must be tested. The human heart is a garden. Its weeds must be faced." The world around Meera dimmed, the villagers fading into mist. She was no longer on the platform, but in a strange, shifting realm of silver light and shadows. She stood alone. From the fog, illusions emerged. First, her grandmother, cold and disappointed. "You've brought shame to our name," the old woman said. "For what? A snake?" Then came the villagers, mocking, sneering. "Which girl?" "Snake lover." "Curse one." Meera's breath caught. "You're not real," she whispered. But then came the final figure, Naagaraj, eyes dark and angry. "You don't truly trust me, do you?" "Not fully. What if I'm the monster they fear?" Meera felt tears in her eyes. She clenched her fists. "No, I do trust you. I chose to believe in your pain. I chose to help you when no one else would. Even if the world turns against me, I won't turn on you." Light exploded around her. The illusion shattered. She was back on the platform, wounded but strong. The runes beneath her feet glowed white gold. Naagaraj stared at her in awe. "You passed," he said softly. "You saw doubt and overcame it." The lake rose in a gentle wave, lifting both of them as if the water itself had become alive. Energy spiraled upward around Naagaraj. His snake body shimmered, glowing brighter and brighter until it was impossible to look directly at him. And then the light vanished. In his place stood a man, tall, regal, with flowing dark hair and golden eyes. He wore a robe of emerald scales and a crown shaped like coiled serpents. He looked human, but more radiant, ancient. Gasps rose from the villagers. Naagaraj stepped forward, helping Meera to her feet. He placed his hand over her wound, and in moments, it closed, leaving only a faint scar. Elder Bhairav tried to speak, but no words came. "I am not your enemy," Naagaraj said, voice calm but commanding. "Long ago, your ancestors betrayed the peace between our peoples. I was condemned for trusting them. And yet, this girl, one of your own, chose trust over fear." He turned to Meera. "You have broken the curse, not with power, but with compassion. That is a strength greater than magic." The villagers slowly lowered their torches. One by one, they stepped back, shame replacing suspicion. Bhairav dropped his spear. "What have I done?" Meera looked at him, tired but resolute. "You let fear blind you. But fear doesn't have to win." As dawn broke over the lake, light washing over the trees and the ancient stones, the barrier around the platform dissolved. Birds sang in the treetops. The forest, once silent, breathed again. Naagaraj turned to Meera. "There is still more to heal, but the first step has been taken." She smiled faintly. "Then let's take the next one together." redemption, and rebirth. The morning sun filtered through the trees like gold spilled from the heavens. A hush hung over the villagers gathered at the edge of the lake. Men and women who had come with fear in their hearts and weapons in their hands now stood speechless, their torches smoldering in the dirt. Naagaraj, in his true form at last, turned from the lake's shimmering waters and faced the people who had feared him. "I do not ask for your forgiveness," he said, his voice carrying with quiet authority, "but I offer you mine. Your ancestors once broke a sacred vow, but today one of your own has restored it." He turned to Meera, who stood beside him, still pale from blood loss but resolute. "This girl," he continued, "chose compassion over fear, truth over rumor. Because of her, the curse that bound me has been lifted, and the forest, long silenced by grief, begins to sing again." As if in agreement, the trees stirred with life. Birds soared overhead, a soft breeze rustled the branches, and deer emerged cautiously from the underbrush to drink from the lake. Then from the crowd, a voice spoke, tentative, uncertain. "She's just a girl. How'd she do what we couldn't?" It was a fair question. Naagaraj's golden eyes softened. "Because she listened. Where others saw danger, she saw pain. Where others saw a monster, she saw someone who needed help. And she acted without expecting anything in return." A murmur spread through the villagers, not of fear this time, but of reflection. Elder Burov stepped forward, head bowed low. His face was drawn with shame. "I was wrong," he admitted. "I let old stories turn me into a villain. I thought I was protecting my people, but I was protecting ignorance." He knelt before Meera, placing his hands in the earth. "I offer no excuse, only my apology." Meera blinked, surprised. She glanced at Naagaraj, then back at the elder. Slowly, she stepped forward. "I accept it," she said. "But I ask you to remember, not everything strange is dangerous. Not every story told in fear is truth." It was a moment that would live in the village's memory for generations. Later that day, the villagers returned with food and blankets. They built a fire and tended to Meera's wounds properly. For the first time in her life, people didn't avoid her. They sought her out, asking for stories, for guidance, even forgiveness. The forest, too, responded. The once wilting crops at the edge of the village began to sprout green again within days. Streams that had run dry now gurgled with fresh water. Birds returned to nest in the trees that had long stood silent. Naagaraj made a choice. "I will not return to the deep realm," he told Meera. "My people are gone, scattered and broken, but this forest is still mine to guard. And now, I will do so in peace, not solitude." He built a sanctuary near the Lake of Echoes, hidden among the vines and stones, where he watched over the balance between man and nature. When villagers dared to venture near, he did not hide, but he also did not interfere unless the forest was threatened. As for Meera, her life changed in quiet, powerful ways. No longer an outcast, she became the village's healer and lore-keeper. People brought her herbs to identify. Children listened eagerly to her tales of the forest, and elders sought her counsel in times of uncertainty. She never bragged about her role in the curse-breaking. Instead, she reminded people that actions, not titles, define a person. Years passed. One evening, under a starlit sky, Meera returned to the lake. She found Naagaraj seated by the water, legs folded beneath him, eyes closed in meditation. "You're still watching over them," she said softly. "I always will," he replied. "But I'm not alone anymore." They sat together in silence, the kind that only comes from shared struggle and hard-won peace. "I sometimes wonder," Meera said, "why I found you that day. Of all the people, why me?" Naagaraj looked at her with a faint smile. "Because you listened when no one else would. That alone changed everything." She smiled, leaning back to gaze at the stars. Somewhere in the forest, a night bird sang. Epilogue. In generations to come, children of the village would sit beneath the trees and whisper the tale of the girl and the Snake King. Some called it myth, others called it history, but all agreed on the lesson. Kindness may seem small, but it can undo ancient curses, soften hardened hearts, and turn enemies into guardians. And deep in the heart of the forest, where the lake still whispered beneath the moonlight, the story lived on.